Hello and welcome back to the Safe, Seen, and Stretch book study. I'm author Schmidt Hasson, and this week we're unpacking Chapter 8, Lessons on Identity. We know that student outcomes are linked to students' feelings about school and to their feelings about themselves as learners. Their sense of belonging in a school community and their confidence in their ability to learn and be part of that community helps shape their identity now and into the future. By contributing to students' positive sense of identity, we can prepare them for college, career, whatever comes next. So let's talk about identity. Our students develop this sense of identity based on how they see themselves as learners, based on how they see themselves as part of a larger classroom and school community. And part of that identity is built on the successes that they've experienced in school. But there's also this conflict between the success that students want and their tendency to want to avoid failure. So that failure avoidance can show up as procrastination, as disengagement. Sometimes it looks like a motivation issue, when really it is just this fear of failing that might damage that confidence and sense of identity. We can provide students with some strategies to overcome this fear of failure, to help them step out, take the risks inherent in learning anyway. We can help them celebrate the success that builds their confidence, builds their identity as learners. We can cultivate their sense of belonging in a community of learners. There are so many creative ways I've seen teachers do this. And so often when people share stories with me about the teachers they remember, it's about the identity that teachers helped them develop when they were in school. One of my favorite stories came from a young man named Drew. I met him on a university campus. He was a freshman. That he had just made that transition from high school to college life. And he talks about his senior year literature teacher, Mrs. Perkins. And he said Mrs. Perkins was a really tough teacher. She had a high expectation, but she supported him in meeting those expectations. And she had this great way of rewarding them for their effort and success. It was a pencil. And she had these pencils engraved with Mrs. Perkins is proud of me. And when they did something worthy of a Perkins pencil, she very ceremoniously bestowed the pencil on them. And he remembers studying really hard and working really hard and getting a high score on an exam and receiving a Perkins pencil along with some words of congratulations. And he said that sense of pride and success helped him, now that he's in college, understand that with hard work he can do it. And he said, anytime I have a big test or an assignment that seems really tricky, I pull that Perkins pencil out of my backpack because it reassures me that, yes, I am a capable learner. Yes, I belong in this community of learners. He said he's careful not to sharpen it too much so that it doesn't get to the point where you can't see the words on the pencil. So how can you bestow this kind of congratulations and celebration on your students and help build their confidence and their sense of identity? Feeling a sense of belonging in a classroom or school community certainly leads to better outcomes for students, helps them form that identity of themselves as learners, but it also helps them transition into the next thing, whether that's college or career. There are several studies that say cultivating a sense of belonging for kids in high school helps them successfully make the transition into a community of learners in college. And I learned this from Allie, who I also met on a university campus, and she carries this beautiful memory of her astronomy teacher, Mr. McVie. She said she didn't really have any interest in astronomy, but she needed a science credit her senior year in high school, so she took his class. And she remembers him every time she walked in playing classic rock over his speaker to start class off. So Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, all the good stuff was coming out of Mr. McVie's speakers. And she realized he loved asteroids, classic rock, anything space or rock related. And she began to love those things too. And she remembers him occasionally meeting the kids out in the field at night with all his telescopes set up so they could look at different things out in the sky, and he would play classic rock through his speakers, Rolling Stones and asteroids. She cherished those memories. She loved those times, and now that she's in college, she thinks about the friends she left back home. She's far away from home. She thinks about Mr. McVie and her school, and she said sometimes she pulls out her small telescope and plays some classic rock and just remembers that she's part of this community, and it's helped her adjust to her new community. It's given her this sense of home and grounding when she thinks about it. But she said looking at the sky also helps me understand how big the world is and all of the possibilities that are out there. What a simple but beautiful way to help build this sense of identity, to build this sense of belonging, to create this community, but also leave a beautiful memory with a young woman that will continue to impact her for a long time. Shaping this sense of identity doesn't always happen in the classroom. Sometimes the lessons students learn outside of class have a long-term impact on their identity. I met Ethan also at a college campus, and he has this memory of something that happened at recess with his fourth grade teacher, Mr. Cribbs. Ethan said he couldn't wait till fourth grade. They could play on the big playground, and there was a volleyball court there. And the boys would try to spike the ball really hard. Maybe they call that a kill in volleyball. not my wheelhouse. But Ethan understood that it was a game of see how hard you can hit it so that no one can hit it back, which caused some problems. People were quitting the game. Kids were getting hurt. I thought if I was that fourth grade teacher, I would take that ball. That ball would be put away pretty quick. But lucky for Ethan and the other kids, Mr. Cribbs was a little smarter and more creative because he challenged Ethan. He said, I tell you what, I bet you 15 extra minutes of recess that you guys can't hit that ball across the net 100 times. But here's the catch. Everybody has to touch the ball at least once. Well, 15 extra minutes of recess was a big deal, so they went about trying to figure out how to do this. They started hitting the ball in ways that others could hit the ball back. They began to teach each other how to play, and Ethan remembers the class counting really loud as the ball would go across the net. 1, 2, 3. He said it became our favorite thing to do at recess. The whole class would play together, and the goal was to see how many times they could hit it across, how long could they keep it going. He said we started to call it the infinite game because we didn't want the ball to ever drop. We didn't want the game to ever end. And he learned the value of cooperation and collaboration. He said it was so much more fun than trying to dominate the game myself. When I talked with Ethan, he told me he's an engineering student now. It's a hard major. He said I could have focused on making the highest grade, on just ensuring my own success, but instead I put together a study group. And we all help each other. We prepare for exams together. We succeed together. He said, I decided to play the infinite game. And as an engineer, that ability to collaborate, that desire to support and work with others will help me as I move from college to my work life and beyond. What a great lesson to teach just in a simple conflict that came up at recess. Mr. Cribbs, helped form Ethan's sense of identity as a collaborator, as a team player, as someone who wants to ensure the success of others. So do not discount the opportunities to build identity that happen in those casual moments, in those moments outside of the classroom, outside of the formal curriculum. Here we go with reflection question 1. How can you build a sense of belonging in your classroom and school community? How might this shape students' identity by seeing themselves as a part of a learning community? And how might this impact them now and also in the future? Reflection question 2. What are some opportunities outside the classroom or formal curriculum to help students develop skills that will become important parts of their identity? Things like the ability to collaborate or a growth mindset. Pause the video if you need to. Take some notes on these reflection questions, because coming up, we've got this week's challenge. For this week's challenge, think about where your students are headed when they leave you, whether that's to the next academic level, maybe to college or career. Think about some ways that you can help shape the identity that will serve them well, that will help them be successful. Think about what your students need to do well in those next places, and plan some ways to help them develop the skills, the identities that they need. Thank you for reading Safe, Seen, and Stretched. Thank you for watching these videos. We'll see you next time for Chapter 9.
Don't miss any of our upcoming content. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. And we'd love it if you'd head over to Amazon and leave a review of Safe, Seen, and Stretched in the Classroom. It will help other readers find the book.